Hey everyone, welcome to my channel. We are back in the old guy's shed for another exciting fun-filled episode here, working on this 1978 Suzuki GS550. Remember we left off last week, or last episode, sorry, working on synchronizing up these carburetors using this Chinesium gauges here to see what we could do to get these carburetors in sync. Found a problem with the carburetors, and I had always mentioned that I'm going to have to take these off anyways at some point to do something with these ports and to replace the fuel rails. Well, the fuel rails at least. Well, I got these shiny new fuel rails here that are aluminum with real rubber O-ring type things on them. I'm not sure if you can see that, but we'll go ahead and we're going to take out the carburetor here. We're going to work on see if we can get the sliders to give us a little bit more travel here, a little bit more play now that we've cleaned it up. And also I need to clean out those sliders a little bit. The other thing I did was I think I've got a replacement for these ports, these long ports coming in. I found a metric, and I'm going to get this wrong. I had to take a picture of it to remember what it was, but I think it's an M5.8 thread that this uses. So it's a metric thread, but I think I found a hose connector that goes to this metric thread and a 1/4 inch hose. So I've got them coming in, I think, later on next week. So hopefully we'll be able to go ahead and get this carburetor out, get the sliders cleaned up, get it put back together with these new fuel rails, and by that time the new ports should come in and we should be able to change out these long ports for something that's a little bit easier to get in and out, and then we can put it back in, the carburetor back in, hopefully for the final time. So I'm going to go ahead and do some get some of this work. If you remember, over on this side I've got all the electrical stuff that I'll have to take out, and I have to take the battery out and the air box and this air chamber here, just to get the carburetor out. So we got quite a bit of work to do. I do have I found another camera that's actually an older cell phone that I've got mounted right up here that I'm going to go ahead and use as a time lapse and see how that works. So we'll get going on that. I'll keep one of these going, and we'll see how that looks, and hopefully we'll be able to get this out and at least onto the bench today. It's a Saturday, and then maybe tomorrow on a Sunday we can start taking it apart. So I'll pause here and get to work. Well, good grief, there it is. Really wasn't that bad, but we got it out, and should be able to get this back in relatively easy. I've been taking it out so many times. I do need to change out some of these screws. I've taken them in and out so many times, the heads are starting to get a little bit too worn to get a good grip on. So these screws here I need to fix, and then or at least replace. And then on this guy, if I can get it out, got it out before. Oh, it comes out that side. This side over here, this end one here is a little bit funky. It might just be because it was twisted. Ah, that's what it is. It's actually cambered so that it's thicker, so it just needs to be set in the right position. All right, good. Glad I got that figured out, because over here, this one here is good. It's just, I just need to make sure I don't have it like that, and it's like that. All right, good. I'll pause here. Get started on doing the carburetor probably tomorrow. It's starting to get pretty darn hot out here, and we'll see what other trouble we can get into tomorrow. Alrighty then, it's a little bit early here on a Sunday morning. Hopefully we can get some work done on this carburetor before it starts raining and before I get smelted out of here. It's been running hot anyways. Yep, so got the carburetor out here and got it down the workbench, cleaned up my workbench a little bit. We got to take out the sliders and clean them up a little bit more and see if we can do the adjustments. And then we also have these fancy new fuel rails to put in and see how we can get those guys in. So I got to take the whole darn carburetor apart and see if we can get it back together one final time. I've already taken a few parts off. I drained out the float bowls and left those screws out. Hopefully I don't have to take the float bowls off. I don't think there's any reason to. So we'll go ahead and get at this, and I'll do a time lapse to see how that looks. All right, now these should come right out. These sliders should come right out, and there we go. And they got little bitty screws. Probably can't even see that, but they've got little bitty screws holding this on. And then this is the adjustment right here. And there's a spring in there too. It's kind of weird. Guess I'll have to take this all apart and clean each one up. Go ahead and get these out. Try to keep them in order, I guess. And get to work on them. Quite a bit of corrosion and gunk on that. That might be why I had a problem adjusting it. So I'll get that cleaned up. Still don't see how. Oh yeah, I do. There's a little spring that sits in the bottom of this guy, and then this knobby thing fits in there and holds it down. So all right, so good. So we got that. So we got all these little parts here. That can be cleaned up a little more. And let's get these guys out. So there's a little snap washer on there, and this one is sitting right in the middle, and it's got these two pieces that go around it. Thinking what I'm going to do is take the rest of these apart, and I do have an ultrasonic cleaner, and I can put all the little bitty parts in a screener thing here that I've got, just a sieve, and for the little parts, and put the big parts in there, and get the ultrasonic cleaner to do some of this work for me. I have to hit this up for with a little bit of a wire brush to get some of this gunk out, but I think that would clean us up pretty good. And then I can go ahead and figure out, let's see, so yes, I didn't have enough range, but I'm starting to think that that range was because it was all gunked up on the adjustment screw here. So I'll take the other ones apart, and we'll take a look at that. And if that's the case, I may leave the needle valves here, have them all left in the middle, and see how that does. So we'll pause here. I'll keep the time lapse running, and we'll see how this goes. Alrighty then, I got the slider parts cooking in the ultrasonic cleaner. We'll see how that goes. So for next part, to get the fuel rails in, I got to take off the back plate, take off the choke rail, and then get the darn things apart and put in the new fuel rails. Let's see how that goes. Anyways, all right, so we got this apart. So now should be able to take these guys. All right. There's one. This is the one that was giving me the trouble the most, I think. Even if I put some forma gasket on there, it's supposed to stay pliable, but I don't think that worked very well. And I got to clean these up a little bit, especially the ones that I put the forma gasket in. So I'll go ahead and pause here. I'll clean these guys up and then be back when we put it all together. All right then, got all those small parts in the ultrasonic cleaner, and I got this guy all cleaned up, I think. So now hopefully we can put together these carburetors for the last time. So I've got the aluminum ones here. I got a little bit of grease down here that I'm going to use to coat these just a little bit, just a fine coating, just to help get them in, and hopefully they go right in. All right, that felt pretty good actually. Pretty positive contact there. It's got there's another little hose there that goes between carburetors. Yeah, that felt really good. All right, good, good. We are on a roll now. Let me tell you that. Let me get this one here. The center one is a big one. Smooth. All right, let's get this one in. Nice. All right. And this last one is a little bit tricky because I've got the post for the spring for the throttle return. But as long as we know it's there, it shouldn't be a problem. Probably should have done this one first. All right, good, smooth operator. There we go, good deal. So I did when I cleaned these up, I used a little bit of WD-40, and that seemed to clean everything up pretty good. Got rid of the white gunk and left a nice little film on everything. So hopefully that WD-40 will help us out, and we'll be able to put this thing back together and get it done. The ultrasonic cleaner still got about a half hour to go, so I think I'm going to go ahead and finish putting this back together to just the rails and the rods for the throttle, and I have to wait for the parts to get done for the sliders before I can put that top one in. So not much I can do until those ultrasonic parts get cleaned up. So we'll pause here and be back in a little bit. Well then, it's another day here out in the old guy's shed. Actually, it's another weekend out here in the old guy's shed. I did do a little bit more work on the carburetor, and I did get the parts out of the ultrasonic cleaner, set them over here. I hosed them down with WD-40 after I got them out, just to make sure we didn't have any rust getting on them. One thing I did want to show you were these gizmos here. Let me take one of these out. So these are going to hopefully replace the other ports here for the carburetor, the intake ports for checking the vacuum. So what I've got here is a little bitty replacement for this, and it's got a push in 1/8 inch diameter hose fitting here. So I'll be putting these on the intake manifold ports, and then I'll be using a combination of these vinyl tubing here to step up to get to the port that I need on the vacuum gauge. So this little bitty one here will go into this guy, and then this guy will go into that one, and then that one will go into the bigger one. The bigger one will go to the vacuum gauge. That's the plan. Pretty hokey, but I think it might work. And in fact, I think the restriction that the 1/8 inch tubing is going to give us is also going to help on the vacuum jitter. So anyways, we got that. So I'm going to go ahead and put together, finish putting back together the carburetor here today, get the sliders all cleaned up again and all lubed up, and see. So I know I've got some of these guys right here that have quite a bit of corrosion, so I'm going to take a light wire brush to these guys and see if I can clean up the threads on these a little bit, and we'll see how that looks. Well, it seems like this clip I had audio problems, so I apologize for that, but what I was talking about here was the choke lever. It was all corroded up and looked gnarly, and I'm showing you here I cleaned it up, took it out, cleaned it up, and got it back looking halfway decent. And here I start telling you about going over the lever slider arms here, got them all put back together and greased up, lubed up, and all ready to put back together. Here I go into how how we got these needles and the adjustment and the C clamps that go on these needle valves and the washers, and show you a little bit about them. And I talk a little bit here about these little darn C clips that go on the grooves, and losing one crawling all over the shop trying to find the lost C-clip, and then having to take apart one of my donor carburetors. I got the old seized up one, and trying to get the shaft out of it and drilling it, and finally getting out another slider assembly, and then getting ready to take that apart and see if I can capture that C-clamp and hope that I don't lose any more. Then get them all back together and see where we can get to from there. All right, we're going to go ahead and finish up this episode. Leave me comments below if you like the time-lapse sequences or not. Took a look at them on a computer. I'm kind of iffy about them. I'll probably try to put some music to them or something. I don't know. But anyways, let me know if that time-lapse stuff is something that's worthwhile or not, or you just want to see me do the big things, or what you think about the videos I'm doing out here in the shed. Be real good to get some feedback on that. But anyways, I do have got quite a bit of work to do on the carburetor, so I'll get back to that tomorrow probably. It's getting really hot out here in Florida. I am on, this is Labor Day weekend, so I'm on vacation all of next week, and my #1 goal is to ride this motorcycle this week. It might be close. We might get there. It might be a couple weeks after that, but we should be pretty darn close, having a whole week nothing to do but the motorcycle. As long as the weather cooperates somewhat, we'll be doing pretty good there. So anyways, I want to say thanks for watching. Thanks for your support. Make sure you're hitting that like button. Please leave me any comments, questions, suggestions down below. Please tell your friends about me, and please subscribe. Everyone, take care and be good.